Hey there everyone, and welcome to St. Knifekill. My name's Nico, and with the For Honor open beta coming the 9th to the 12th, I'll be giving you guys an in-depth review of each of the different classes before you actually jump in, so you guys can have the most fun in-game. So let's start with the basics. Each of the factions is going to have 4 different classes with unique playstyles that you'll have to level up individually to unlock each of their different feats and get better gear. Each class has distinct weapons, armor, feats, and playstyles determined by parameters like attack speed, range, damage. So in the most basic sense, building your character or class will have 3 simple components. First, find a class that offers you the playstyle that you like. Whether you want to hit and run, harass, soak up damage, support, or control, For Honor offers plenty of choices if you're willing to build your class right. So first, find the class that has the theme and movement mechanics that agree with you. Second, learn the class's feats so you know what kinds of roles you'll be able to grow into as you progress. Feats are like special abilities that you unlock as you battle through a single match, and they can be active or passive. As you level up your class, you'll gain access to new feats to flesh out your build. If you want to play a controller, someone who captures, defends, and holds capture points in Dominion, then you'll want a class with the feat that affects capture and upgrade speed on points. If you want to play a support, look for feats that affect your teammates. If you want to be in the fight, then look for those feats that affect your recovery, speed, damage, armor, and revenge mode. Lastly, your equipment will affect your build. Though initially you probably won't notice the passive effects of your armor and weapon choices, it's good to know what stats you'll want to focus on. If you've already settled on a feat that increases your revenge mode, then you probably want armor and weapons that will affect revenge gain, revenge damage, and revenge defense. So this video is specifically geared toward learning about the 12 classes available in For Honor, so you guys can enjoy the game as much as possible right out the gate. So let's start with the knights, who have the Warden, Conqueror, Peacekeeper, and Lawbringer. The Warden is the most balanced of the 4 classes available for the knights, choosing not to compromise on either damage, defense, or mobility. And with only a couple of nuanced mechanics, the Warden is the most straightforward class. Their most unique mechanics are an unblockable shoulder bash for getting through tough blockers like the Conqueror or Warlord, or throwing enemies, as well as a quick unblockable light combo, which can be devastating if not countered, interrupted, or dodged. The Conqueror has heavy armor, a ball and chain weapon, and a shield. The Conqueror excels in defense, but hits like a truck with slow attacks. The Conqueror also benefits from unblockable attacks with their shield, interrupting with standard blocks, and a tough block for when you're surrounded. However, the Conqueror hemorrhages stamina in sustained combat, so I don't recommend this class for people who like to chase down their opponents for knockdown, drag-out brawls. Unless you build to mitigate the loss of stamina, this class is for those who are looking to play defense. And if you find yourself looking for more action, I'd recommend building up your revenge from defense stat on your armor. The Peacekeeper is an assassin class. This means that you'll have to pay very close attention in combat because unlike the other class types, assassins like the Peacekeeper, Orochi, and Berserker have very little defense and must actively mitigate damage by constantly flicking their defense to the correct position, dodging incoming attacks, parrying, or deflecting. All those strategies involve actively responding to your opponent's moves rather than selecting a passive stance like the other classes. That aside, the Peacekeeper is designed to bleed their opponents to death, meaning you'll have to learn the combos to stack those damage over time attacks, or else you won't do any significant damage. Build-wise, it's very easy to establish a revenge build, as Peacekeepers have a feat which causes you to gain revenge from dealing damage. Aside from that, you may want to build your stamina and exhaustion recovery, as this class gets very easily winded if you can't down your opponents quickly. The Lawbringer hasn't been released yet, but I'm hoping to try it out during the coming open beta. This class carries heavy armor with a large two-handed poleaxe. The armor mitigates a great deal of damage, while the poleaxe offers both range and counterattacks. This class benefits from the ability to stun enemies with regular attacks as well as keep them off balance. However, with heavy armor, expect this class to rely heavily on stamina or be relegated to defense. Next up, the Samurai have access to the Kensei, the Orochi, the Nobushi, and the Shugoki. The Kensei are balanced like the Warden and also wield an agile two-handed weapon. However, unlike the Warden, the Kensei offers a bit of additional range at the expense of their attack speed. The Kensei also benefits from a devastating unblockable vertical heavy attack, which you'll want to use to create openings in your opponents or guarantee an execution to remove a player from the map. If you do choose the Kensei, your heavy attack will be significantly less effective against assassins, as they'll be able to deflect the attack, which will likely leave you open to lethal combinations. The Orochi is the Samurai's assassin class, but it's a little less agile than the Peacekeeper, compensating with a bit more defense and a dash attack that makes it very hard to create distance to escape from this class. You'll want to force your opponent into close combat and use your quick light attacks to harass them. Keep an eye for incoming attacks, as you can use several counters to establish or regain control. Use your dash to clinch the engagement, but only if you have an open shot. Dashing toward a tough blocker like the Conqueror, or another assassin that can easily deflect, will mean you're re-entering combat at a distinct disadvantage. The Nobushi has the longest range of all the classes in For Honor, wielding a large naginata and medium armor. This class is very agile and their attacks are very hard to deflect, making them effective against assassin types. Also, they can apply chunky damage over time effects from poking their opponents with their superior range. However, the long-range stab is very easy to dodge as it's not a sweeping attack, so a savvy opponent can use this tactic against you to close the distance and remove nearly all of your advantages. Initiate at range, play defensively, and rely on well-timed poisoning to end your opponents. If the enemy runs, it can become very hard to reach them if they're strafing to avoid the end of your weapon. The Shugoki is the last samurai class that has yet to be introduced, but hopefully makes an appearance in the open beta. The Shugoki has no armor, but carries the largest amount of health of any of the classes in the game, which means if you have any heals, you'll be able to carry on fighting for quite some time. Also, the Shugoki can use charging heavy attacks to engage their opponents and immediately put them at a significant disadvantage, and follow up with their uninterruptible light attacks. Don't expect to catch the Shugoki unaware, as their passive stance is uninterruptible. If you want a glass cannon, the Shugoki is for you. This class will be incredibly lethal, but runs the risk of dying very quickly. Lastly, for the Vikings, we'll start with the Raider. Wearing very little armor and carrying a large battle axe, the Raider is definitely a class you'll want to play aggressively, with an unblockable zone attack, stuns, and a shoulder charge that will literally throw your opponents to the ground or off a ledge. The Raider is a very fun class to push your opponents with. The weakness of this class is its speed. You'll want to keep your opponents at a disadvantage with your stuns, or risk them taking the battle from you with a single well-timed deflection, parry, or dodge. Also, play the map. Use fire, ledges, and walls to control your engagements. The Berserker is the Viking assassin class. Relying on speed, agility, and deflection over armor, this class has remarkable stamina economy and can keep laying on attacks to keep their opponents on their toes. If you want to be really effective, make sure you're changing your stance as you're laying into your opponent so they can't block or deflect and take the advantage from you. Because of your stamina economy, you can afford to be a little stubborn in chasing your opponents down with your charging attack, and you're probably safe building away from stamina and exhaustion recovery on your armor and weapons in favor of revenge or defense builds. The Warlord is the Viking shield tank, most comparable to the Conqueror. The Warlord carries a bit less armor, but boasts the same tough block and attacks significantly faster than the Conqueror. This class has defensive properties in their attacks due to their shield, and has access to an unblockable interrupt which can easily be chained into lethal combos. However, the Warlord is weak to counterattacks, so be wary of over-investing in your engagements. The Valkyrie is the last class yet to be released for the Viking faction, but hopefully we'll have access to it in the open beta. Carrying medium armor as well as a shield and spear, the Valkyrie will be a very agile class which excels at controlling engagements with range and defense. You'll want to keep your opponents at bay or throw them on their backs. However, like the Nobushi, deflections and parries can be used to close the gap and limit this class's utility, forcing the Valkyrie to rely more on their shield. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative. I really enjoy For Honor. The skill ladder is very high, and I'd like to give everyone a kind of head start so we can all enjoy the game when it premieres February 14th. If you have any more questions, or if you just want to tell me what class you're looking forward to playing, please drop a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in my next live stream, 9 PM EST. Goodbye, everybody.